It's white to move. At first, black's king looks like it might still escape. The queen is still on the board, the rook is still defending, and the material is not completely out of control. Most players would look for a safe check or maybe try to win the queen slowly. But Boris Spassky finds something much stronger. At first, the idea looks impossible because black can simply take the queen. So keep this position in mind. We'll come back to it in a few minutes. Now, let's go back to move 1 and see how this attack was built. Hello everyone, welcome back to Queen Sacrifice Legends, episode 24. I'm Aniket, an Arena International Master. Today's game is Boris Spassky versus Viktor Korchnoi, played in the Candidates Final in Kiev 1968. Spassky was one of the most complete players in chess history. He could attack, defend, play positional chess, and calculate sharply when the position demanded it. Korchnoi was one of the toughest defenders of all time. Beating him in a direct attack was never easy. This game is famous because Spassky creates a powerful attacking net, and at the end, he finishes with a queen sacrifice idea that black cannot accept. If you enjoy classical attacking games and queen sacrifices, subscribe. Now, let's start from move 1. The game begins with the King's Indian defense, Sämisch Variation. I will not go too deep in the opening theory, so the game continues with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, King's Indian defense, bishop g7, e4, d6, stopping e5, f3, castles, bishop e3, knight c6, knight e2, a6, knight c1, remaneuvering the knight, e5, striking in the center. We are still in the opening theory and we have so many games with the exact same position in the database. So here, d5, attacking the knight and gaining more space. So knight e4, if you are thinking we can win the pawn on d4, you are wrong. Because if bishop takes d4, e takes d4, queen takes d4, the problem here is there's a knight takes e4. And here, the queen is attacked and you might be thinking, we can win the knight on e4. No, you cannot. Because if you try, then there's a rook e8 and you lost a queen. And all of the other variations will lose the game for white terribly. So that is why after knight d4, there is no way for white to win the pawn on d4. So white continue the game with knight b3 offering a trade because this knight on d4 is very strong in the center. Black obliged. So knight takes b3, queen takes b3. This is a very typical King's Indian imbalance. White gets space in the center and a strong pawn structure. Black gets counterplay, especially against white center and on the dark squares. White is just not developing quietly. White wants to control space, castle queenside, and later attack the black king. Black wants counterplay. In the King's Indian, black often allows white to build a big center but then tries to break it down with tactical activity. The game continues with pawn c5, stopping white to play c5, but here there's a d takes c6 and peasant, b takes c6 and long castle. And if you see, this pawn on d6 is a weakness because that's a backward pawn. So bishop e6, preparing rook b8 and making a pin to the pawn. So queen a3, putting a pressure on d6, knight e8, just defending, and now there's a pawn h4. We already see the story. White has castled queenside and is ready to push the h pawn. That means white's plan is clear. Open lines against the black king. But black, on the other hand, is trying to create counterplay in the center and on the queen side. So game continues with pawn f6 and that's a first mistake in the game. Black should continue the game with bishop f6, attacking the pawn, and when he plays pawn h5, then there's a bishop g5. And he simply trades a bishop, but that idea is very tough to find for humans. So that is why black tried pawn f6, and that's first mistake. And white found the right idea and played pawn c5. You might be thinking, okay, so we can't take on c5 because the queen is hanging, but can we not play pawn d5? No, you cannot. The reason is there's a e takes d5, and after c takes d5, there's a bishop c4. And white will take advantage of this pin. And this bishop on e6 is hanging at the same time. So that is why after c5, black played rook f7, remaneuvering the rook wherever required. So queen a4, attacking on c6 and now queen c7, just protecting and coming away from the pin. The position becomes sharper. White is trying to open the queen side and the king side at the same time. Black is defending, but his pieces are starting to become slightly passive. The rook on f7 is useful but defensively. So even if the material looks normal, position is already becoming dangerous. There's a bishop c4, bishop takes c4, queen takes c4, making a pin on f7, but now bishop f8. Just removing the bishop because on g7 it was doing nothing. And white continued his attack and played on h5. And black continued the game with d takes c5, which is a small inaccuracy, but his idea is he is trying to open the center and create and counterplay. But now white continued his attack with hg6, black replies with hg6, and now this white rook becomes a monster rook. And now white played queen e6, and his idea could be just go back on h3 and somehow checkmate the black king. So black has to be very careful. This is very important. White is just not attacking with pawns. Queen is entering, the rook can come to the open files, and black's king is starting to feel unsafe. This is the first sign that the attack matters more than material. And black plays rook d8. Now we reach the first critical moment. Take a few seconds here. It's white to play. Pause the video here. White continued the game with the perfect accuracy, and he played rook takes d8, queen takes d8, and now rook d1. He has understood that he cannot take advantage on h file, so he remaneuvered the rook to d file, which is the center. So queen e7, offering a queen trade, but now white captured a pawn on c6. Don't memorize every move here. Just notice the pattern. White keeps improving the queen and rook. Black keeps trying to trade pieces and reduce the pressure. But black's king never becomes fully safe. The game continues with knight c7, just activating the knight and hoping to play knight e6 and knight d4. And maybe after that, black would be fine. And also, he's defending the pawn on a6. So queen b6, king c7, knight d5. White's knight enters the attack. This is a very important moment. When you attack, one piece is usually not enough. Queen alone is not enough. A rook alone is not enough. But when the queen, rook, and the knight start working together, the king can become trapped very quickly. Korchnoi did not take the knight back because he might take with the pawn and generate his passed pawn. So he played queen e6, offering a queen trade again, but now bishop takes c5. Spassky is saying, yes, we can trade the queens, but on my terms. So Korchnoi played bishop takes c5, queen takes c5, and now there's a knight b5. Now, black has lost a pawn, so he does not want to trade the pieces anymore. So queen e3, just centralizing the queen, and there's a queen c6 check, king b1, and knight d4, just taking an outpost. And also, in some of the variations, queen c2 will do a great damage. There's a rook c1 attacking the queen, queen b5, knight c7 attacking the queen, queen e2 offering a queen trade. Now Spassky finds a forcing path, and he started with knight e6 check, and black should continue the game with king g8. And he might be afraid of rook c8 idea, but after king h7 he is just fine, and white has to oblige the queen trade, and eventually he has to win the game in the endgame. But unfortunately, after knight e6, Korchnoi blundered the whole game on the spot, and we played king h7. We reached the position from the start. If you are serious about improving and want structured training instead of just solving random puzzles, I work with students personally. The link to train with me is in the description. Now, let's pause the video here. It's right to play. Find the queen sacrifice idea. Most players would look for a normal queen move, or a safe check. But Spassky plays queen h6. This is the final move of the game. Korchnoi resigned. At first, this looks insane. But the point is, if king takes h6, there's a rook h1, Anastasia's mate, and if after queen h6, he tries to go back on g8, he's still lost after rook c8, so he has to block with a rook. So rook f8, and there is a rook takes f8. Checkmate. That's the whole point. So that was Boris Spassky versus Viktor Korchnoi, candidates final, Kiev 1968. Spassky gave black a chance to take his queen, but in return, he had a forced checkmate with the rook. This is what makes this game Queen Sacrifice Legend. It was not just beautiful, but it was precise. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for the next Queen Sacrifice Legend and comment below, would you have found Queen h6 in this position? I will see you in the next one.